So far, 5 people, including alleged gang members, traffickers, and one ordinary citizen, ordinary woman from Diego Martin, are now being held by order of the Minister of Homeland Security. And we need to talk about it. We need to understand what this actually means. So these detentions are happening under Regulation 14 of the Emergency Powers Regulations 2025. Now, that regulation activates the schedule which controls preventive detention. The key line here is Schedule Paragraph 2. Schedule Paragraph 2. And I've made some notes. It states the minister may make an order directing that a person be detained if he is satisfied that, with a view to preventing that person from acting in any manner prejudicial to public safety, it is necessary to provide for his preventive detention. It also states that anyone under a detention may be arrested without warrant. May be arrested without warrant and detained in such place and under such conditions as the minister may direct. So let's be clear here, 10. Let's be clear. This is not a criminal charge. This is not a criminal charge. This is a detention based on perceived intent, not proven action.
All my niggas ride for me. I got niggas that'll die for me. You niggas ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you won't bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that. Cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that. You niggas ain't built like that. You was never on the block, you ain't never dodge a knock. You ain't never fought another crew holding down the park. You ain't swam with the sharks, you ain't wrestled with the gators. You was never fucking popping, you ain't got no fucking haters. Bitch, niggas like you make me watch out for the traitors. When you round some real niggas, mind your behavior. I will beat a nigga ass, then I'm laughing like I'm Jada. Get your fucking mind blown like a cartridge on a Sega. You niggas want attention, they don't want the war though. Talking all that shit, but you got a glass jaw. Ho, they never deliver. They got that DiGiorno. This that Walking Dead flow. I eat a rapper torso. You ain't the same man once you off the microphone. You ain't never broke a bone. You ain't never had a scar. You a certified pussy, so don't make me pull your card. I'm a certified prophet, respected like the word of God. Cause you ain't got the heart, nigga. You ain't got the heart. You ain't about to finish any beef that you start. You ain't never been a soldier, little nigga. Play your part. Claiming that you'll spark when you ain't got the heart. Cause you niggas ain't built like that. Run around talking like a thug when you won't bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that. Acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that, cause niggas get killed like that. When you ain't built like that, run around talking like a thug when you gon' bust a slug, man. Niggas get killed like that, acting like you bang for the set when you ain't blood or cuz, man. Blood'll get spilled like that. Niggas saying really they the plug, but they talking to the judge, man. Get your cap built like that, cause niggas get killed like that. All my niggas ride for me. All my niggas ride with me. I got niggas that'll die for me. All my niggas ride with me. You niggas ain't.
Salakia with the situation with the Venezuela tension. Huh? Yeah, Salakia. Yeah. With the Venezuela tension that is going on with Venezuela and the United States, right? And the involvement of Trinidad and Tobago, right? So you can tune into the radio show 91.9 FM, President Officer Swapiala and President Officer Matkwaya. All right. So without further ado, we're going to get into the class, right? And we're going to talk about a little bit about the situation, right? A few situations that has arise, right, in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Since the Venezuela tensions in Trinidad, with Trinidad and Tobago has arise, right? And it has caused a lot of uproar on the social media, right? And even a lot of talk on the street, right? The Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, we are now starting to realize and understand, right, that the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man is not like everybody else. Understand, right? They're now starting to understand that there's a separation between the haves and the have-nots, right? Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, we need to come together. We need to join together as a people, right? And come back to follow the Lord's statutes and commandments, right? To follow the Lord's way, the Lord's culture that, and constitution that he has set up for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. We need to come back and do the things that the Lord set out for us to do, right? For the things for us to keep, all right? And if somebody could give me a Bakusha as we start, you could give me the Romans 15:4, right? This is why our forefathers laid down these or took diligent instruction, understand, from the Most High, right, about the laws, the statutes, right, and the culture of that the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man supposed to keep, right? And now, right, just as they were instructed to write it down so that the generations now today in these last days could read and understand and learn our history, learn our heritage, learn our identity, right? And this is why now we can look back and read about the things in Deuteronomy, the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. We can read all through Leviticus. We can read the dietary law. We can read different ceremonial laws, different civil laws, right? Because our forefathers made sure and took diligent note, right, of these scriptures so that it would be able to hand down to the generations after them, right? It was passed down from their sons to the sons' until it reached right down to us in these last days. Thank God for commanding Jenny Hannah, understand? Keeping this school together, you understand? Keeping the ISUPK in right standing with the Lord. So now we can learn and understand and see the things that are taking place in these last days. So you can give me the Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. Babu.
Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever thing were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Right. And just as the scripture say, the things written aforetime, these things were written for our learning. You Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? This is why today we can look back, right, and look at these scriptures, understand, right, and learn our history and our identity and who we are as a people, understand? Because the things written aforetime, the thing written in the past, in these scriptures was written for the learning of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. This is how we're going to know who we are as a people, our identity, our history, our culture, right, and how we're supposed to live and operate and guide our families on the face of the earth. Understand? And it's also a book of prophecy, things that would come in the future. And now many things today we are able to see that it is coming to pass, or it has come to pass. Right? So you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, this is your history, this is your identity, this is your culture. You understand? If your ancestors from the Atlantic slave trade, right? You're not a slave. You understand? It's not a speck, a wetback, a cockroach, or a pest, or the made up bywords that they call us, right? Trinidadian and Mexican and those from Uruguay and Brazil and all these places, right? These are bywords, right? But the people, the native people, right, belong to the bloodline of the true Jews of the Bible, the 12 tribes of the Bible. You are the Lord's chosen people, all right? And this is why we see many of us today, right, struggle with our spirituality because of Christianity, right? A lot of things Christianity has taught us, right, is not true, and it is not in the Bible, all right? You Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, all right? When you look at Christianity, right, this is the image that is usually associated with Christianity. This is not Jesus Christ according to the Bible, right? Right. This is Caesar Borgia, right? The son of Pope Alexander VI, right? So all these things, right, is what Christianity brought up upon us and made us believe that this was Christ. But this the Bible, Christ is a Black man, right, from the tribe of Judah, right, the head tribe in the nation of Israel, right? And Christ is the King of the Jews, all right? So we're going to get in a little bit tonight, right? And we're going to talk about a woman from the Roman who was detained, right? And many people some were in uproar and some were shocked, right? that this type of detention could take place, right? Because it's not a crime, right? And a lot of people did not know that this could could be a direct detention, right, from the minister, right? But this is in Trinidad and Tobago's law books, and many times these things pop up, right? It made people unsettled, understand, right? But you black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? This is why the ISPPP under Command generally and say, gather yourself together. We need to come together, right, as brothers and sisters, right? And we wouldn't fall victim, right, to these types of situations, right? Because now, how to dress, understand? You would learn the places that you should go. You learn how to speak, understand? You learn how to carry about yourself in a manner that would respect the Most High, but also would also be able to respect the laws of the land, right? And it wouldn't be get caught off guard, right? And in this situation, because we are in the modern age, right, in society, and we have things like social media and as such, right? Many people speak many things on the social media and didn't realize that even, right, the oppressor could end up using these things against you, right? So this is why this is a situation that happened in Trinidad, right? And a woman from Diego Martin was held in detention, right? So she wasn't so-called put in the traditional jail, but she was held under detention, right? And this detention order came directly from the minister. This was an order from the minister, not the police. So when the minister gave this order, then the police had to go and pick up this woman and place her in the detention center, right, in Trinidad and Tobago, all right? And all this stemmed from a social media post, right? So we just play a little clip so we will get some context and then we will continue.
Detained not for weapons. So far, 5 people, including alleged traffickers and one ordinary citizen, ordinary woman from Diego Martin, are now being held by order of the Minister of Homeland Security. And we need to talk about it. We need to understand what this actually means. So these detentions are happening under Regulation 14 of the Emergency Powers Regulations 2025.
All right, so these are regulations under the state of the emergency, right? This is how this detention order is activated, right? And because we under a state of emergency in Trinidad, many people didn't know that this order could have took place, right, in the form of being reprimanded or detained for a social media posts, right?
Now, that regulation activates the schedule which controls preventive detention. The key line here is Schedule Paragraph 2. Schedule Paragraph 2. And I've made some notes. It states the minister may make an order directing that a person be detained if he is satisfied that, with a view to preventing that person from acting in any manner prejudicial to public safety, it is necessary to provide for his preventive detention. It also states that anyone under a detention may be arrested without warrant, and detained in such place and under such conditions as the minister may direct. So let's be clear here, 10. Let's be clear. This is not a criminal charge. This is not a criminal charge. This is a detention based on perceived intent, not proven action.
Right? So in this situation here, right, the woman from Digger Martin, right, allegedly made a social media post, right, showing as they said, showing the prime minister's residence, right? As the video would go on to explain, right, and asking for Venezuela to take action, right, and this sparked or triggered the minister to issue this order, and this woman was held in detention, right? I just have to say it is not a crime, but the minister has the ability under the state of emergency to detain someone, all right? And she was held and placed in the detention center.
It's a woman detained not for weapons, not for violence, not for trafficking, but for something she posted on social media. So according to the state, she posted an image of the prime minister, of the prime minister's residence, and it's alleged she called for the Venezuelan government to take action. Reckless? Yes. Irresponsible? Absolutely. Insanity? 100%. Dumb? Yes. Whatever name, whatever phrase, whatever criticism you have for this person, I would agree. But here's a key point, 10. Here is the key point. It was speech. No evidence of action, no weapon, no plan, no attempt. It was a post. Speech. And for that speech, she's being held under a law designed for terrorism and organized crime.
Right? So, and this is the situation here with the state of emergency, when a state of emergency is activated, right? And this is what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man need to understand, right? That when these things arise, right, you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, this is why the laws are the most important. This is what's going to guide the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man and help him to escape the snares, right, or the traps, right, of this society, right? This is what is going to make the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man able to be sheep, right? But wise, because you are the Bible scripture says you are the sheep among wolves. You have to be wise in this society, right? So when many people go run on social media and say wherever they want to say, and many will go, I don't care, and I do this and all that, right? The oppressor finds ways, you understand, to deal with the situation, to entrap you, to make you fall victim to these type of situation, right? And I remember when the article came out in the papers, the woman husband was begging, you understand, right? He said the wife didn't mean to say what she had to say, right? And I think she even took down the post, right, from social media, but it still was not enough. You understand? They had to go and detain this woman to set an example. You understand? And this is the traps that the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man fall into. You understand? If we're not careful, right? How these how the oppressor works in this society. You understand? We are not like everybody, right? Give me Zephaniah 2:1 Baba Kusha, right? We are not like everybody, right? The scripture say, and I'm paraphrasing, right? You go read it just now, right? We are people that is hated in society. You understand? We have to wake up and understand that many traps are set out here for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. When you look at the at-risk communities, as they say, And as many of these at-risk communities lack the basic things that a community need to function. You understand? It barely have running water. You understand? It barely have a good school, or the school underfunded. You understand? When you look at the unemployment rate in that community, it's high. And all these setting up the conditions for crime. You understand? And they would arrest the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man for the crime, which is the symptom of something bigger. Understand? And the thing that is bigger than crime is a community that has fallen and become dilapidated in society. They lack the basic things just to survive. Understand? So now it's forcing the community to see crime as a way of survival. Understand? Right? But nobody was born to go and do crime. Understand? But the circumstances is an environment that they create to cause crime to be in a particular community. That is why one community would be thriving very well, and right next door, and next one will be in absolute turmoil. Right? You Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, we need to understand that the only way for us to escape the wiles of the enemy, the wiles of the oppressor, is for us to gather ourselves together. Give me Zephaniah 2:1, Bible.
Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together. Ye, gather together, O nation not desired.
That's right. The scripture says we are a nation not desired. Understand? And when you look at this situation here, you could see that this woman was an example. Because on his social media had many posts, right, with the same level of aggression. Understand? With the same type of language. Understand? But this woman, this happened to be a Black Israelite woman. Understand? And this is the person who would be detained out of all of them. Understand? To set an example for Black people, Hispanic people, and Native Indian people to see. Understand? Don't cross the line. That the warning, the send out a warning for everybody. And now you're realizing that everybody, because of this situation, many people become scared of social media because they don't realize the rights that they thought they had, they don't already have. Understand? It could go away in a minute. Understand? These are the things Black, Hispanic, and Native people need to understand and need for us to be wary of. You want something? Salakia, go ahead.
Yeah, so like I said, and when you watch like the you see now again when Black people don't have power, right? So they're saying something what the Prime Minister and all said and all too, right? So when coming to the whole scene with the narco drug trafficking, she say kill them violently, right? When you're watching the states and thing, right, with certain things like when people go on the death penalty and all kind of thing, right? So it has certain things like, that could prevent them from gain them a torturous death and thing, right? So when you watch certain things like people go put things in order to place that you don't do somebody things, so like you kill them, you make them like go to sleep like a death penalty what they get is like a cool death penalty. But when now you're coming and saying that kill these people and bring them to no kind of judgment and thing, you see now is a difference now when you're high up and when you're low down now.
That's right. And it's two different, right? It's two different type of judgment they're giving. And understand? It's not like every scripture. It's not one law for everybody. And understand? Them giving two different type of treatment. And understand? Just as they rightfully saying, Salakia, sir, right? Just as they rightfully saying. Understand? And this is what started to happen in Trinidad when these different boats, right, alleged drug boats started to be hit, right, and blown up, right. It started to build from that, and now in reaching to the point where it even affecting speech in Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? And when it started to affect speech in Trinidad and Tobago, and people started to become detained, then the alarm started to go off. Understand? In the society, right? Many people are wondering now if the society moves to an authoritarian state and these different types of things. Many articles starting to pop up. Understand? The front page in the newspaper. I think I have one here to my front page on the newspaper talking about, and this is published on the mainstream media in Trinidad and Tobago, right? Right, and this is the Daily Express today, and it says crack down on bloggers, right? So they're starting to crack down on all social media people, right? So now we're realizing that speech is something that is beginning to be affected. You understand? And this is why the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man need to understand that we are not the same. You understand? The treatment we will get will be a different treatment from the so-called heathen, from the so-called oppressor, right? So if you give me Revelation chapter 18 and verse, you can start from verse 3, Baba Kusha.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of fornication.
Right, and this is talking about the nation, Babylon the Great, the nation of America. All the nations drunk of that wine. You understand? Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, we need to understand that all these nations benefit off of the things of America. All the goods and the delicacies as when we go lower, the scriptures is going to list it out of all the things all these nations benefit from. All of us drunk from that philosophy. You understand that America has gave out unto us. Right? All that Christianity America gave us, the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man and the heathen, you understand? We drunk of that wine. And we, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, this is what the ISCPE under command of Johnny Hanna, this school is for us to separate ourselves from this society, for us to come out, understand, of all that religion, right, and Christianity that has plagued us for years, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her.
And all the kings or all these world leaders, understand, have done what? Committed fornication with her. All of them have partaken in all the offerings that America has. And when you put Trinidad and Tobago and places like Guyana, Trinidad and Tobago is like 1.4 million. Guyana is even less. Guyana is like 700,000 people, right? For the whole Guyanese population, right? And if we could partake in the things of America, much less a bigger country, you understand? We are tiny speck, you understand? Right? So a lot of, or I shouldn't say a lot of, but all the nations have drunk, right, of that wine. Continue, Baba Kusha.
And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Right, and the nations of the earth, many of these nations have become rich, right, out of the abundance of her delicacies. So, right, they have benefited, right, of all the trade and investments and different things from America. They have waxed rich in all the deals that they made with America, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people.
Come out of where?
Come out of her, my people.
And this is what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man need to do. We need to come out, understand, of all these vain things, right, that we pick up in this society, right? Right? The scriptures say America is the land of every foul spirit. We have picked up all these different spirits, or all these different philosophies, all the different ideologies. We have picked it up. You understand? We have picked up these things. And you, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, this is the time. This is the time that we separate ourselves, understand, from all these philosophies and vain things of this society. Right? This is where the ISPPK under commanding General Yohana is for. Right? This school provides the tools and give you the ability, understand, to totally separate yourself from Christianity, separate yourself from all these religious ideologies, and come back to keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments as the Lord commanded us to do. Come back to keeping your culture, your history, and your identity. Continue on, Baba Kusha.
that you be not partakers of her sin.
That's right. And understand, and we coming out of her because we don't want to be the partakers of the sins of America, the land of America. Understand? We want to leave every foul spirit behind. Understand? It's time to come out. Understand? Right? Of this Western philosophy, right? That the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man has picking up over time. Right? Continue on, Baba Kusha.
And that you receive not of her plagues.
So that we will receive what?
Not of her plagues.
So that we wouldn't be punished. Understand? With America. These plagues wouldn't come upon us. Understand? When we separate ourselves from this society. Understand? Right? When they send out all these detention orders, it mustn't be because you guilty of it. Understand? Yes, they might arrest you. Yes, they might put you behind bars. Understand? But let it be wrongfully done. Understand? Not that they were right to do it. Right? Continue on.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 5. For sins are reached unto heaven.
For her sins are what?
For her sins are reached unto heaven.
That's right. The sins of America has reached unto the Most High. You understand? It overbearing now. You understand? Right? It getting out of control. And now that sin has come up to the Most High. Now it got any attention. You understand? Continue.
And the Most High had remembered her iniquities.
And the Most High had done what?
And the Most High had remembered her iniquities.
Most High remember. Understand? Most High remember the iniquities of Babylon the Great. Understand? Right? The scriptures say that this is the daughter of Babylon. So that spirit that was way back with Nebuchadnezzar still in the land of America today. Understand? Right? Babylon the Great. Continue.
Verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you.
Reward her what?
Reward her even as she rewarded you.
Continue.
And double unto her, double according to her works.
And that is where the prophecy say in the scriptures. Understand? Double unto her works. Understand? America going to be severely, right? According to the scriptures, America is going to be severely destroyed, right? By the Most High. Continue.
In the cup which she had filled with her to double.
In the cup which she had?
In the cup which she had filled to her double.
That's right. Right? So she's going to get double portion of that. Continue. Of that punishment.
With them, how much she had glorified herself.
How much she had done what?
How much had she glorified herself and lived deliciously.
That's right. Continue.
So much torment and sorrow gave her, for she said in her heart, I sit a queen, I am no widow.
That's right. Right? And that is the spirit this nation carrying. You understand that she untouchable. Nobody can touch her. Right? And this is not for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man to go to war with anybody, right? Or to damage anybody or to unalive anybody. Understand? The Lord saying He going to bring the destruction on that nation. Understand? Right? Because their sins has reached up to the Most High. Continue.
And shall see no sorrow. Verse 8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day.
How her plague shall come?
In one day.
That's right. Her plague shall come in one day, meaning it will come quickly. Go ahead.
Death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burnt with fire. For strong is the Most High power who judgeth her.
That's right. Understand? And these are the things going to come on this land. Understand? Because when you look at the entire history of America, is a lot of oppression that come upon people. And there's a lot of oppression that come upon the land. Understand? There's the history, right, that has been stirred up, right, in from this nation, right? And we have to understand, Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, that this is the time, understand, for us to not partake in her sins, for not to partake in her in her iniquities, right? All these alleged killings. Understand? This is the time we're not supposed to be looking to join no military system. We had to separate ourselves from that. You understand? You Black, Hispanic, Native Indian man, come back to the laws of the Most High. Come back to the things that the Most High has given you. You understand? This is what the Lord, this is our portion. These scriptures here, this is our inheritance. The things that written in here for us, this is what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, this is your inheritance. This is your history, your identity. This is your culture. Written in this Bible. You understand? Out there, it's nothing for me. You understand? Like pain and destruction going to come. You understand? If you Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man get caught up in all that is we see going on, right? With all these rising tensions in the Caribbean, right? And even here in Trinidad, right? So a whole way is there, sure, right? And we just go back to the clip with this woman. So this woman was detained, right? For speech, right? And this is something many could understand at the time, right? But this is actually a law that is in Trinidad and it is activated under a state of emergency, but this was always on the books, all right? So we will continue.
Interesting times in Trinidad and Tobago. Very interesting time. We've seen this happening in the United States recently under the current administration. Reckless? Yes. Irresponsible? Absolutely. Insanity? 100%. Dumb? Yes. Whatever name, whatever phrase, whatever criticism you have for this person, I would agree. But here's the key point, 10. Here is the key point. It was speech. No evidence of action, no weapon, no plan, no attempt. It was a post. Speech. And for that speech, she's being held under a law designed for terrorism and organized crime. Interesting times in Trinidad and Tobago. Very interesting time. We've seen this happening in the United States recently under the current administration. And there's something the public should not forget here. There's something the public should not forget. The things people have said online about former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, the threats, the insults, the memes, the racial attacks, the calls for violence, they make this situation look mild.
Right? And this is just one of the points, right? That many people brought up, right? Under past governments in Trinidad and Tobago, right? This never came up. We had several state of emergencies in the past under many successive governments, right? And this was never used against the citizen, right? Because this is actually a law for terrorists, you understand? Or terrorist organizations, right? So that they would be able, right? Or if they deem it to be like a crime boss, they would be able to, under state of emergency, they would be able to hold you, right? Without actually proving that they commit a crime. And this was used on a woman, right? A Black woman from Diego Martin. Understand? Because she was on her way. And as a matter of fact, nobody was aware that this was a law in Trinidad until it was used. You understand? Right? And they used her like as an example. You understand? And that is how the fear is struck in a society. You understand? So now many mainstream influencers, as I would put them, or social media persons become fearful. And now people are afraid to speak out. You understand? Because just as they're under state of emergency, you wouldn't have any protests in a country, right? People wouldn't protest things that are going on in the country because of a state of emergency. Big gatherings, the police going to crack down on it. Understand? So social media was kind of seen as a place where one would protest, understand, or vent his how I should put it, his or vent his grief, right, with the so-called government or anything, any type of social activity of the day. Understand? But now you're seeing that crackdown coming even on social media, right? So even now restricting, while one unable to protest in the street, it even now restricting protests in speech. You understand? Right? So and when it reached to protest in speech, you know, is everybody looking to be silenced, more or less. Right? Continue on, Baba Kusha. No, Salakia, sorry. Always. Let me just play this little piece. Salakia.
Nobody was ever detained. Nobody was dragged under emergency powers. Nobody disappeared into a holding facility because of a post. So, 10. The question here is this. If this law applies to speech, then why was it never used before? Why now? Why now? And why with this current administration? It is selective enforcement. And selective enforcement is the first thing, is the first warning sign of authoritarian governance.
Right? And I see that the first sign of authoritarian government. So it's showing
so far, 5 people.
So it's showing you that the mode of governance is have to be careful about, right? That we don't fall victim, right? To these type of traps that is hidden within the law, right? And the only way you can avoid these traps is by following the Lord's statutes and commandments that the Lord give you. The Lord had to give you that wisdom. And to gain that wisdom is here in the ISK under command in your hand. Right. All right. Continuing from ways of Sasha.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her, and the lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
That's right. Understand? And the Lord is who has to bring destruction to this nation. Understand? This is not for you, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man. This is not you going to pick up arms. Understand? Against anybody. Understand? The Lord going to bring that destruction upon that nation. But what we have to do is come back to the things that the Lord gave us. Right. Understand? We have to gather together as black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, a woman, and child. Understand? And the ISUPK is the place to do that. Right? Give me Daniel chapter 6 and verse 7, Babakasha. Right?
Daniel chapter 6 and verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
All the presidents of the kingdoms, the governors, and the princes, the counselors, and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute.
Right, so all the presidents, right, say the governors, the princes, the counselors, captains, right, have consulted together to establish a royal salute. Right, continue.
And to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save of thee, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions.
Right, and this is in the book of Daniel, right? When Daniel was cast into the den of lions, right? And at this time, they were saying that nobody could pray to the Most High. You understand where I come from? Right? Except the only petition that could ask is of the king. You understand? Because the king wanted to be the most important person. You understand? Right? And for this, in the book of Daniel, they were cast into the den of lions. You understand? Just as today, for speech. You understand? So them nobody didn't want to pray. You understand? Same type of persecution. You understand? Nobody wanted to talk, nobody any way to ask on no other help. You understand? Right? Save through the king, save through the government. Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, we need to wake up and realize the times we are living in. Understand? It's not as one of them regional analysts, as a listener program, one of them regional analysts was saying, he said this is not a game. Because many people taking it as a game, they're taking it for light. Understand? That like if bombs go just drop in Venezuela and they go over in the morning. These things just go on for years, for months. Cause a lot of starvation and hardship for people. You understand? Right? It just take decades to rebuild our economy. When our economy crash, so when after a war break out in society, you understand? It takes decades for a country to recover. Right? And these things bring extra strain on a society and a people, and the ability to recover is very slow. And the amount of people dependent on the government today, if something is to break out, a lot of people will face a lot of hardship, not only in Trinidad but right throughout the Western Hemisphere. Understand? If a situation like in Venezuela is to become much more worse, as many analysts predicted. Understand? And this is why we're telling Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, understand? Come into the ISCPE, watch these classes. If you're close to the school, come to the classes, join the school, be a part of the school. This is for you. This is for you, Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. This is the people we're talking about. You understand? The true Jews of the Bible. Come and learn your history, learn your heritage, learn your identity, and learn how to survive the wiles of the enemy. This is the place. Because this ain't looking like it will get better. You understand? From here is only downhill. You understand? If you feel when this situation with Venezuela overdies it's going to just move to the next country. And so it will keep going. You understand? Until World War III. Understand? Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, we need to wake up and understand the times we live in. Yes, sir. Slack.
Right now, brothers and sisters really take heed, and especially here in country.
Come on.
I think it's be sensitive. As I mentioned before, speech as well. Right? So it's like the boxing the diabetes.
Come on.
Again, another time, they don't want to actually go out. Because right now, again, when they go on social media right now, they see a lot of people with the tape. And it's like, they give it more. And because a lot of these people then will be given, information. They will have a lot of people or families in certain strategic positions, within the military, within the defense force, and they will be, getting information. And the reason that the information being, brought out is like, like for one individual might say, everything that taking place, with the joint military action is not like that. It's like, these people operating in a space where you might, like you say, people might think, that they will be joined together with them, but it's not so.
Come on.
And again, the point that you bring is very important.
Mm-hmm.
Because imagine somebody using your space, but you're not in that space. And you ask the question, you're unaware of what you're using space.
Okay.
Now, the questions now will go to the people in the higher authority to ask, what bring it upon them to use this space without authorization.
Mm-hmm.
And that in itself is like just prepared.
Mm-hmm.
So now the people them as they operated, and have families, they would bring more than their families. The reason why we bring more than their families, we would bring more than our family.
Mm-hmm.
Is not going to get better
Mm-hmm.
because the aim or the mindset that this visa is going to go to no end. To no end to get what we want. Just any person that they say, good like they say, the 100 season.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going out now, you're looking for a price.
That's right.
So you're going to the extreme, you're going day, you're going night in the day. Because now you're looking for that price on.
Mm-hmm.
And until you get that price on, then you will feel, please about this. When we pick up that spirit again from the people, then that is not, that's all.
Okay.
Not the right spirit like we have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We will say now, right now.
Mm-hmm.
They will go to the end just to get, as you say, just to get whatever.
Okay.
So again, the importance are again the awareness is very important. Timing it is our most important.
Okay.
It was just recently with General Manjera did the history.
Okay.
The breakdown of Romans 11 chapter. And that was it's like it changed a lot of things, especially if our brothers already want to understand the book was already knowing family.
Okay.
Not just at the state, because again, as Commander a lot of people give handouts, it's good, but to really win back the mindset there, brother, to win back the mindset of the system, that's totally different.
Okay.
Just giving that handout. Because of the condition that they in now, again, they give a handout, but to actually bring back or have their mindset renewed is something totally different. And this is what, again, the school, the ISP, has been doing since the time of Christ.
Okay.
Bringing back the mindset of this family, this
house. Okay. Yes, like I said, I'm going to say it's so true. Understand? And Black people, Hispanic people, and Native Indian people need to understand that a lot of things that religion has taught us from the past, we had to drop that. Understand? We had to let go that. You understand? Right? Because when you look at the situation that's going on today, you ain't a religious leader. You understand? Everybody quiet. You understand where I'm from? Nobody is saying nothing. Right? And it's showing you that the religious leaders of this time is benefiting from this society. That is why they're not speaking up against it. You understand? Because if they speak up against it, the idea bread going on be doing. You understand? Because these is a part of the system. And these are part of the destruction. You understand? Right? And the sister in her grief, you understand, speak out. You understand? But she didn't know the wiles of the enemy, just as it explained this. You didn't know how far the oppressor willing to go to destroy you. You understand where I'm from? And this is why we tell a lot of people come into the school, because now you're going to understand who is your oppressor. Understand? And understand the distance that they're willing to go to break the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, to strike fear in us. Understand? Right? And we need to understand that we, as a people, we have a power. Understand? That rules the earth. Understand? And could make alive right? Or destroy an entire city. Understand? You black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, you need to know your culture, your history, your heritage, and your identity. Understand? Don't make these so-called leaders, understand, or so-called oppressors fool us. Understand? Into thinking that you have no help or there's no way out of this. Understand? You black man, Hispanic man, and the Native Indian man, the ISUPK under commanding Jenny Hanna, this is the place. This is the place. This is your help. This is your salvation. All right. Where did reach Officer Shah?
I was in Daniel 6 and verse 7.
All right. I'm gonna share this image here, right? So after the woman was detained in Diego Mountain, right? So it started, the build-up start. Ships start blowing up. Strike fear in the fishermen in Trinidad. Many of the fishermen was afraid to go out in the water. Still is afraid to go out in the water. So fear start on the waters. Then it moved from there, state of emergency. Nobody can protest. Right? People fear to go out on the street to speak out against the things that they find is wrong or ill in society. Then it moved to speech, where they started crackdown on social media. Right? So a lot of people now become afraid to speak on social media. Right? Because of the detention of the woman, and make sure that it was well published throughout all the papers and it was well covered on the news. So that is how the oppressor spreads fear, a tactical warfare that is happening on blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indian people. All right. And then now, in the papers, this was today papers, right? Trinidad and Tobago Express. And it says, Roger revokes Trini's visa. So now, all who have visa become fearful. You understand? So in other words, what they're telling is, if you talk, we will go with your visa. You understand? And a lot of people travel back and forth through Trinidad and Tobago and America. Some of them have business in America. Some of them have houses, properties. Some of them family in America, back and forth. They have a large Trinidad and Tobago diaspora. Understand? In America. Understand? People who live in there and trying to support the family back here in Trinidad. Understand? And now, when articles like this come up, right, in the media, now people in Trinidad become fearful. And all this is tactics of war. We don't even understand that Trinidad and Tobago society, the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people, we in a war and don't know. Understand? Because they're already using psychological warfare on the people. Right. Understand? We still looking for the war to start in Venezuela when it already here, spreading all through the society, attacking different angles or different places in society. Understand? So we had speech, we had the fishermen movement get reduced from the sea. Then we movement get reduced on the land, state of emergency. Then they restrict your speech. Now they're talking about revoking a visa. So now the whole system starting to fall apart. And many become fearful. That is why you barely even see a religious leader speaking. Right. Because most of these religious leaders, understand, the quote unquote ones with the mega churches and stuff like that, they had a family in the US and businesses in the US and properties in the US. Them don't want to lose their visa. Understand? So now everybody get quiet. They're starting to quiet down those who would speak out in society. Understand? And give me the Jeremiah 14 and 2 Babakosha. Right? That's what the scriptures say. The gates thereof languish. Now we can actually see it taking place in society because the people who are supposed to defend us, they be in silence. Understand? Because now they studying, hey, I go lost my house, boy. Understand? Or I go lost my property, I go lost my business. Understand? If I speak out. Understand? Because now I can't go back to Babylon the Great. So that is why, just as we read the scripture in the beginning, all the nations are drunk of her wine. All these trading and economic investments and things like that, no nation wouldn't be able to partake. Understand? Unless they pass through Babylon the Great. Understand? A lot of these nations tied up, some of them in debt to America. You understand? Right? Some of them are under the military might of America, so they're unable to do anything. And this is the kind of thing that the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man face. You understand? That is why our religious leaders are afraid to speak out. You understand? Prominent people in society, all the stars and celebrities, you understand, and artists who you would follow, they're afraid to speak out now because nobody wants the visa to be revoked. This is the type of warfare that is coming up upon the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, right? Give me the Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 2, Baba Kusha.
Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 2. Judah mourneth.
Right, it says Judah mourneth, go ahead.
And the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground.
Right, and Judah mourneth because the gate thereof languish. And understand, the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man in mourning. Because the gate, when they say the gate thereof language, talking about the leaders for Black people. Understand? Here in Trinidad, they're languishing because they're being silenced. Understand? They're unable to speak. Understand? All these so-called leaders, all these religious leaders who was opening up their mouth and protesting and hitting the street, understand, and beating the pavement, now they're scared. Understand? Because they're about to lose things that was freely able to do. Understand? Now it get put in perspective for them. Now they become afraid. This is where the ISUPK under command generally have come in. You Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. All these people that were following before, ain't nobody speaking out now. Everybody's silent. Understand? All the big wigs in Trinidad silent. Understand? We all need the Pastor Coffees and Pastor Jamal and Deliverance Temple and all these people. Oh, we don't hear these people again. Oh, nobody talking about the war. You understand? Nobody had nothing to say. And these is the things that how our society or prominent people in the Black community are silenced. Understand? They begin to strip away the things that they have in society.
Right.
Understand? Right? That was the NHR. Continue.
They are black unto the ground. The pride of Jerusalem is gone up.
That's right. And the cry, and this cry for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man is going up to the Most High. You understand? When the Lord looked down on Trinidad and Venezuela, you understand? The native people of Venezuela, he's seeing what going on. Slovakia, he's seeing what going on in society. He's seeing the destruction that taking place. He's seeing this the nation that coming against them fiercely. You understand? This nation coming fiercely against them, as swift as the eagle flieth. You understand? In a language they should not understand. Many people in Venezuela speaking Spanish, they can barely translate to English. You understand? This nation coming against them. You understand? Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man. You understand? Your identity is in this Bible. You are the true Jews of the Bible. You understand? And the ISUPK, just type in ISUPK, wherever city you're living in. Understand? Or wherever school closest to you. And come be a part of the ISUPK under command in Jalihan. And they will learn how to deal with this situation. Understand? They will understand who you are as a people.
Right.
Understand? And what you're supposed to be doing in these times. Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. This is your time. You understand? I know it's looking like terrible times, but this is the best time for the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man to get himself right with the Most High. All right? Right? So now the threatening to anybody that speak out or behave badly on social media or physically, they could revoke your visa. You understand? And this was quoted by the minister saying this. Right? So now even more people, right, have become fearful, or prominent people have become fearful in Trinidad because of this, right? Let me see if I can share this article here. And this is what oppression could do, right? And this is what having a heathen ruling over you does do. You understand? It brings oppression on the people, all right? It brings hardship upon the people, right? Let me see if I can get this article here. Right, and this is an article from the Trinidad and Tobago Express, right? All right, let me see if I can share this here. Here. Share screen. Right, and this is the article from the Trinidad and Tobago Express, right? And it reads, U.S. revokes Gary Aboud's visa, right? And this happened, this article was published November 22nd, 2025, right? Gary Aboud is the president of Fishermen and Friends of the Sea. I don't know if you will be able to see his face here. All right. This is what he looks like. All right. And he is from the Syrian and Lebanese community. Right. And he spoke out against the government. Right. And this is what the article says here, right? It says, I have done nothing wrong except express my opinion. Right? With these words, Fishermen and Friends of the Sea, right, Corporate Secretary Gary Aboud denounced the sudden revocation of his United States visa, saying he believes the decision stems from his public criticism of what he has described as extrajudicial killings of alleged narco traffickers in the Caribbean by U.S. authorities. Right, so he spoke out against the alleged bombing of the boats of the narco traffickers, and his visa was revoked. Right, and he's of the Syrian and Lebanese community. Now they are of the more richer or affluent communities in Trinidad and Tobago, and they took his visa. You understand? Right? Because he spoke out against the things that are going on in Trinidad and Tobago. Right? And these things is to set examples. So, in other words, what I'm saying is, if we revoke this person who are the higher end of society, if we could do him that, imagine what we could do to you.
Right.
Understand? And these the kind of psychological warfare that they use on people. So a lot of people now who holding a lot of influence on the social media platforms become silent. You understand? Because the saying, if they could do that to him, right, who's a so-called 1%, as they say in Trinidad, right? What are we going to do to we? You understand? And this is how the oppressor operates. You understand? He sets an example. Just like we spoke about the woman in Diego Martin. It's the same thing. You understand? He set an example, right? And when he set the example, everybody else behind fall in fear. You understand? Now they are afraid that they too lose access to their assets in America.
Right.
And this is how nasty, you understand, the so-called oppressor could be. This is the games they like to play. You understand? And now Trinidad and Tobago have all over the country, back and forth. You understand? Right? Some of them so-called drills not even happening with our training, not even happening with the Trinidad and Tobago regiment. You understand? They planning their own stuff aside from the Trinidad and Tobago regiment. These are the kind of things that are happening in society. You understand? So when people feel it's training, it's something else. Nobody knows what's going on. No information that's shared. You understand? The so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man be out of the loop. The opposition don't even know what's going on in the country. And they are the opposition to the government. You understand? That is how ridiculous society has become now. You understand? Right? They're totally cutting off the information. Right? A lot of people are highly unemployed. So they are totally in survival mode. Right? I think the Trinidad unemployment is like 9%. 9%, right, of 1.4 million people is roughly 100 and something thousand people unemployed in Trinidad and Tobago. You understand? So to even think about studying about the news, they can't even think about it because they're studying survival. You understand? They're studying how much next bread will come on the table. And this is how destructive the so-called oppressor is. You understand? And that is what the Lord said, just as we read in Revelation 18, the Lord had to destroy Babylon the Great. Otherwise, they would bring a lot of terror to all these other nations.
Right.
A lot of oppression would come on all these other nations. Right? And one deal, Trinidad and Tobago tried to make it with who? The so-called oppressor. And by trying to make a deal with the so-called oppressor, Trinidad now is end up being placed in a position where the country literally falling apart by the day. Understand? And bombs didn't even start to drop yet. Understand? And just like the title of the class, America invaded Trinidad and Tobago without a single shot. Understand? They totally come and infiltrate the entire territory. Government straight down to the lowest in society. They have control over. That is how crazy it is. Right? And I just want to play this clip here. Right? So after now, the revoked visas, you had the so-called destruction of the alleged narco traffickers. We under state of emergency, right? The other woman detained for speaking out on social media, right? Now from that, look at what we moved to, right? This is a video from the U.S. Embassy chief, right? Explaining to people how to walk circumspect. Understand? Otherwise, you can have your visa revoked. This is how serious it gets now. We never even used to hear about that in Trinidad. That was never even a conversation. Understand? But now these things have changed. Understand? In an instant. Right? And this is what the video is saying.
The visa chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Port of Spain. Hello, I'm Mike Mitchell, the visa chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Port of Spain. Breaking U.S. laws have serious consequences for visa holders. If you are arrested or violate any laws, your visa may be revoked, you may be deported, and you could be ineligible for future U.S. visas. Follow the rules and don't jeopardize your travel. A U.S. visa is a privilege, not a right. Hello, I'm Mike Mitchell, the visa chief here at the U.S. Embassy in Port of Spain. Breaking U.S. laws have serious consequences for visa holders. If you are arrested or violate any laws, your visa may be revoked, you may be deported, and you could be ineligible for future U.S. visas. Follow the rules and don't jeopardize your travel. A U.S. visa is a privilege, not a right.
Right? And these messages now are starting to hit more frequently. Understand? So now they're telling you, obey the rules, otherwise we will revoke your visa. Understand? Right? And they say it is not a right. It's not a right to have a visa. Understand? So now you gotta ask. Understand? These videos now are starting to be more popular. Right? And this was released by the U.S. Embassy a day ago. Understand? To explain to people, no, don't feel you can misbehave and come into the United States. You understand? Now they share social media, right, and all these different things. You understand? To search to see who he is. Right? It is becoming very, very difficult now for one to obtain a visa. And because of this, it's making people who should be more influential and strong in society weak. You understand? Because now they're being attacked economically, or they're being attacked through speech. You understand? All these different things are taking place in Trinidad and Tobago right now. And no bombs in drop yet. Not a shot fight. You understand? Slowly, but surely, Trinidad and Tobago conquered. Black man, Hispanic man, and Indian man, we have to wake up and understand what's happening in this society. You understand? Not a bomb drop and Trinidad and Tobago under heavy oppression. Right? This is I don't know if you can find the paraphrasing the scripture that say those said the or one who is not your brother over thee. Salakia. Right? If you can find it, you can get from Baba Kusha Tawala. Right? And this is why the scriptures talk about it. You understand? Because when you put somebody who is not your brother over you, this is the situation that happens. Raw oppression, raw hardship. Go ahead, Officer Shah.
Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 15. Thou shalt in any wise set him over thee.
Right? Go ahead.
Whom the Lord thy power shall choose.
Right? So you should set somebody who the Lord thy power choose. And understand? Over you. Go ahead.
One from among thy brethren.
One from who?
One from among thy brethren.
Scripture say one from among your brethren. You understand? We are not supposed to set the heathen over us or the other nations. Right. We are not supposed to set the other nations over us. Otherwise, these things will happen. That's why people wondering why it is happening to us in Trinidad. Because we have set the other nations over us. You understand? And now we feeling the pain. Our weight is light. And when somebody who is not your brother over us, ruling over us. Right. Continue, Baba Pasha.
Thou mayest set a stranger over thee.
Go ahead.
Which is not thy brethren.
Right? So you should not set a stranger over thee. You should not set one of the other nations or these other nations over thee. You understand? Right? So in Trinidad and Tobago, black people supposed to have a black man, a Negro man over the nation of all the black people in Trinidad, if it was to be right. It should not be one of another nation. Right. Understand? Continue.
Verse 16.
That was the end of the verse? All right. You can stop there. Baba Kusha. Understand? So we are supposed to have our own people ruling over us. Right? Not those of the other nations, right? Right, and this also too was published by this also too was published by the Trinidad and Tobago Newsday as well as the article in the Newsday, and it says there the U.S. Embassy has warned visa holders in Trinidad and Tobago to be aware of their conduct and not take their visa for granted. Right? It is in a post to social media on November 23rd, U.S. Embassy Port of Spain Visa Chief Mike Mitchell said, breaking the U.S. laws have serious consequences for visa holders. If you are arrested or violate any laws, your visa may be revoked. Understand? And all this, it is well published throughout all the Trinidad and Tobago daily newspapers, all the prominent papers, right? And this is how a society is controlled and gripping fear. You understand? Because a lot of people, a lot of businesses in Trinidad depend on going and getting goods from America to come back in Trinidad to sell. They depend on it. You understand? Some of them back and forth weekly to make sure that these goods come into Trinidad. And when you hear that a situation like this where your visa could be revoked, your visa could be revoked at any time, there is where you become fearful. You understand? And that's how they get control and grip of society. Salakia, listen. Yeah. All right. There is where it become fearful. So black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? We need to pay attention to these things and be aware, right? Of the wiles of the enemy, the strategies that the enemy use against us. Understand? To bring oppression and hardship upon the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. And even right here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? And this script, I'm going to move on to share this one, right? To play this one right. Right, this
Caribbean nation of Trinidad and Tobago sits just.
Right, this is a clip from the Wall Street Journal, right? Showing, right, the timeline, right, of how Trinidad and Tobago ended up in this situation, right? The different deals we made and what has us in this predicament today, right? And the government of the day here in Trinidad is hoping that the government in Venezuela is removed, understand, in order for us to produce gas, right, or get gas from the Venezuelan Dragon field in order to supply our gas needs here, right? And just as the former Prime Minister had brought out in an interview with the media that Trinidad is absolutely dependent on natural gas to produce electricity in Trinidad. Without natural gas, Trinidad is going to go dark, right? Nobody will have current, no factory will work, all the pumps would stop, right? And Trinidad will be in darkness, right? And as we become almost like Haiti in a minute if we run out of natural gas, right? And at the current trajectory that Trinidad and Tobago is heading, we could run out of natural gas within a few years. So they're trying to secure gas from the Venezuelan Dragon gas field, right? But they're unable to do so since of recent times because we supported or because the Prime Minister supported the American government. Maduro decided to not go through with the gas deal anymore, and now Trinidad is in a predicament. If we do not get gas, we will have no electricity in Trinidad, right. And even all our manufacturing would shut down, literally, right? So we will not be able to manufacture any goods at all in Trinidad. Right, and this is more like a timeline showing how all this lead up, right?
The tiny Caribbean nation of Trinidad and Tobago sits just 7 miles from Venezuela at its closest point. And right here is the Dragon gas field, which Trinidad has sought to develop in collaboration with Venezuela to meet its energy needs. But now tensions are running high between the neighbors as President Trump ramps up the pressure on Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro.
He has not been good to the United States.
Over the past month, U.S. Marines have been training in Trinidad, leaving many to wonder if the U.S. military could use Trinidad and Tobago as a staging ground for a wider conflict. So here's how this small island nation came to play a significant role in the U.S.'s Caribbean campaign and what its support for Washington could mean for the future. While other Caribbean nations have spoken out against the U.S. campaign in the region, Trinidad's Prime Minister has supported Washington's moves. A few weeks after the U.S. began carrying out strikes on alleged drug boats, Prime Minister Kamala Persad-Bissessar and Secretary of State Marco Rubio met to discuss regional security and counter-narcotics cooperation. According to a readout of the meeting, Rubio also expressed support for Trinidad's Dragon gas proposal and steps to ensure it will not provide significant benefit to the Maduro regime. That's the gas field that Trinidad shares with Venezuela, and most of the gas is on Venezuela's side. A few days after that meeting, the U.S. granted Trinidad an OFAC license, allowing it to engage with Venezuela on the gas deal without being affected by U.S. sanctions. And around that very same time, open source researchers began posting about strategic U.S. aircraft near the country. They also posted satellite imagery revealing a U.S. Special Operations ship off Trinidad's coast. By late October, the buildup was even more public. Trinidad welcomed a U.S. warship at its port and launched joint defense drills with these elite U.S. forces from the 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. The moves have infuriated the Maduro regime.
Esa señora está permitiendo que Trinidad y Tobago sea utilizado como un portaaviones contra Venezuela.
Venezuelan officials have lashed out against Trinidad's prime minister, declaring her persona non grata and criticizing her for allowing the country to be used as a, quote, aircraft carrier against Venezuela. In November, the U.S. Marines returned for more training. Now, central to all of this is a status of forces agreement that the U.S. has with Trinidad and Tobago that was strengthened.
All right, so Trinidad and Tobago has an agreement with the United States, an agreement called SOFA, right? And this was an agreement we always had with the United States for a very long time, right? But of recently, some changes took place, right? So we're going to see the difference in the changes that took place recently with this agreement.
At the end of last year. It allows U.S. troops to operate in the country under certain rules. In the past, cooperation has typically focused on disaster response and humanitarian efforts.
Right. So before this agreement, when the Americans would come and visit Trinidad and Tobago for a fair amount of time, right? The agreement had specific rules how the United States could operate in Trinidad, and it also was for disaster management, right? Mainly, right? I'm gonna play back disaster management and one other thing here, right? I'm gonna just play back.
End of last year. It allows U.S. troops to operate in the country under certain rules. In the past, cooperation has typically focused on disaster response and humanitarian efforts.
Right. So it was disaster response and humanitarian efforts. So that is what the agreement was for, right? So if we had any major disaster in Trinidad, the Americans could come in and assist with it, right? Or any humanitarian efforts, right? Any building to be constructed to help different parts of the society in need, they would be able to come in and step in and Trinidad and assist Trinidad and Tobago, right? But in recent times, with this new administration, the agreement changed, right? And this is what happened.
But this prime minister, who was elected on a law and order platform, has taken things to a new level. That's because in recent years, Trinidad and Tobago's murder rate has skyrocketed.
Right, so they say because Trinidad and Tobago murder rate going up, this prime minister gave the United States more access to Trinidad, but on a more security level, a more military level, and now this is why we seen all these actions in Trinidad, right? Because the agreement was amended and changed, right? And as a result, the U.S. have more access in Trinidad and Tobago, right?
Last year was the country's deadliest year on record, and the violence was closely related to gang activity.
I can tell you one thing, we stopped all drugs virtually from coming in by sea.
That helps explain why, even amid news reports of bodies washing ashore on Trinidad beaches and citizens being killed in U.S. airstrikes, the government has supported Trump's campaign, saying the operations are ultimately aimed at allowing the region to be a true zone of peace where all citizens can in reality live and work in a safe environment. The rising tensions have sparked fear in the country, where fishermen are scared to go out on the water and citizens fear retribution from their neighbor. Trinidad is already paying a price. In October, the Maduro regime suspended energy cooperation with the country.
Suspendido todo.
While Trinidad's government hasn't said whether it supports a possible U.S. effort to seek regime change in Venezuela, analysts say it's clear that the country's waters, airspace, and land could play a key role in whatever comes next. The tiny Caribbean nation.
Right? And these analysts are saying that Trinidad and Tobago's land, the position we is geographically, could play a key role in assisting the United States to do whatever operation that they will do in Venezuela. Right. Understand? And this is why Trinidad finds itself in this predicament in the Caribbean, right? Because our leaders chose
this part, understand, to support the United States in whatever operation that they're going to put down in Venezuela, right? Whether it be oil or removing the government, right? And this is what the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man need to understand. Just as we read all through the scriptures tonight, you understand, we're not supposed to be following these heathens. You understand? The pathway they choose is destruction and calamity for everybody. Right? They don't even understand that they're bringing destruction and calamity even upon their own self. You understand? Because the path they choose is destruction. You understand? You make agreement with the oppressor. You understand? It's not now that everybody know is aware of the history of the United States in all countries all over the world. Right? And most countries that they enter in, right, to make change, they end up destabilized, the government end up falling apart, right? And the country is still struggling to recover, even to this day. One prime example of that is the nation of Libya. What's them today? Libya is absolutely unstable today. You have Iraq, still can't recover. Decades later, the economy still can't recover. Understand? All these places like Afghanistan and all these places, right? And now it moved to the Caribbean, right? So you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, you give me Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, right? We need to understand that this is our fight. Our fight is gain ourselves together, gain ourselves right with the Lord. And understand? Keeping ourselves in check and in righteousness with the Lord. Best place to learn that is in the ISUPK under commanding general hand. This is where you're going to learn, understand how to navigate and escape the wiles of the enemy. Right? Give me Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
Thou art what?
For thou art an holy people.
The Bible says, for you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, you are a holy people. Go ahead.
Unto the Lord thy God.
And unto the Lord thy God. Continue.
And the Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people, right, unto himself.
The Lord made you a holy people, right? Holy means Quadash in Hebrew, right? He made it to be a separate people, right? And a special people unto himself. We were chosen. You Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? We didn't join this. This is a bloodline of people, right? The scriptures say you are what your father is. You are the seed, right? This is a bloodline of people that the Lord chose. And the Lord chose the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man to be a separate people, a holy people, and a special people unto himself. Go ahead.
Above all people.
Above what?
Above all people.
Go ahead.
That are upon the face of the earth.
And we are supposed to be above all people on the face of the earth. The Lord chose us to be the ruling people on the planet Earth. Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man. Understand? And we're going to return to that ruling power. Right? We have to understand Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, this style of governance we're seeing, right, from all these nations, right? From all these heathens, from the oppressor, so-called Babylon the Great, or America we need today, that is not the governance that's supposed to be governing the earth. You understand? That type of warish, understand, behavior that we see, right? The America toppling all different countries for years and decades all over the earth. That is not the style of rulership that the Lord wants for the earth. Understand? The Bible says, when the righteous are in authority, even the trees will sing. Understand? The earth will be at peace. Understand? When a righteous government enters into the earth. Right? And you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man, right? If your parents are from the Atlantic slave trade, you understand? Right? Or descendants of the Atlantic slave trade, you are the true Jews of the Bible. You understand? Right? We were not just random people gathered up in a ship and sent to the Americans. You understand? You were Black Jewish slaves that the native Africans sold, understand, to the so-called white man or the so-called Caucasian man today and brought to the Americas. The people in the Americas, the Black people, the Hispanic people, and the Native Indian people, you are the true Jews of the Bible. And you need to understand that Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. And if you want to learn more about your history and your identity, check out the ISUPK under Commanding General Hannah. We've been teaching this truth since 1969, that you Black man, Hispanic man, and Native Indian man are the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Right? And I just want to share this short clip, not clip, but this short reading here, right? About war, right? And a lot of people feel that because we live in the western side of the world, many people don't understand the effects that war brings on a society, right? And many people champion it and pushing it. You understand? That like if they want America to come and blow up Venezuela and everything will be nice, it's not going to be nice. You understand? It's going to be the scripture says this is the time for wars and rumors of wars. You understand? Famine and hardship. These things going to happen. And Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man, we need to prepare ourselves for this. You understand? We need to prepare ourselves for these type of hardships that would come. You understand? And this is the place. The ISUPK is the place for that. The ISUPK is the place. You understand? For the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man to understand what he's going to face in the very near future. Right? Right? And this is a long list, but many things have many effects of war, right? One is loss of life and trauma, right? Because people getting killed, you're going to lose a lot, and you're going to have all type of emotional scars, PTSD, right? And all the fancy names they give it. Factories and farms and business going to shut down. You understand? Poverty going to increase, unemployment, prices of food and basic goods that skyrocket. These are things that people don't understand. There's happening war. You understand? Roads, bridges, and homes, water systems, power plants going to be damaged. You can't get clean water to drink. You understand? Now you're forced to go by some river and some stream to look for water to drink. Right? Crime does increase. Because there's no law. There's no order. Gang, militias, schools closed due to danger or damage. Students lose years of learning. There's no school again. That way war is sport. Understand? And sometimes when I listen to the media and you hear our leaders talk, you're shocked because them calling for war. Understand? And war is actually the destruction of our economy. Understand? If a proxy war is to start in Trinidad or even in Venezuela, these two economies will see very hardship. Right? And these are the things many people would face. Understand? You even face displacement. Families will become refugees. Right. You will literally become a refugee and a place to live. You understand? When bombs dropping, they can't go and lie down in the bed at night because the night active just as the day. Then dangerous. Right? Bombs falling. Government just collapse. You understand? Dictators or foreign powers may take control of the country because the country become unstable. All this is a lot of things, right, that goes on. And this is only the physical part we're talking about. You understand? Right? So you Black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, you understand? The ISPPK under Commanding General Hannah is the place to be, to learn about your history, your identity, and who you are and what you're supposed to be doing at this time. You understand? And with that, we will pass the class over to Priest and Officer Sharp. And don't forget, right? The ISCPK Trinidad has a radio show, right, from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on a Thursday, right, with our camp leader, Priest and Officer Swapiala, and Priest and Officer Matt Koyak on a Thursday, right? That very interactive show, a good show. You understand? Come through, ask the questions, talk about what's going on in society, in the society here in Trinidad, right? Or even what's going on internationally with the United States, Venezuela, bring up the topics, ask the questions, and these guys will give you the answers according to the Bible, the biblical answers according to the Bible, right? So with that, Sasha.
Security announcements. We at ISBK out of our 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. New rules for brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes to the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are here to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest and peculiar person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to another brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which a brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, a brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry, tithe, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, and Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. Means tenth in Hebrew has gone to my share. 10% of every penny and a piece the Lord gave you the treasury department of teacher priest fund. Free will offering for priests, non-mandatory, whatever amount you like to give. A coming holy convocation, that will be the feast of dedication, also known as Hanukkah. That will be the 25th day of the 9th month by a space of 8 days. That will be Sunday the 14th December, right? 2025, for a space of 8 days. You can find this in 1 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 52 to 62. Reminder Akiamla that welcome to check on social media such as ISPK, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on for ISPK events and material. If your brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then you start wearing all black, which includes black boots, like shirt, like pants, like headband, that we say. Imagine. Sarah, we're gonna rise on feet, he's gonna say, Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abanawa, Mashmai, that's, yeah, power, Lakaka, Zaka, yeah, Sha, Arati, Kawa, yeah, Shamaya, Tan, and a walk, now, come, Tal, a walk, Masalak Noah, Abuwaki Noah, Masalak Noah, Abuwaki Noah, Wala, Tabia Noah, Masawan, Ball, Shine Noah, Young, Right, Aya, Lakwa, Tapara, Aluminum, Man.
What we said in English was our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
Sir, let's get a teacher one quickly look. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine.
How about Shemi Shabbat Tom?
Sir, let's get sisters online at one quickly look. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Yahweh. Mata, verse.